It's the game and whatever, you know.
Graham Hunter, good morning to you. How you doing?
He's good. I was enjoying listening to that. Get me off.
Well,
Get Kenny back on.
We'll talk about Messi in a minute, obviously, because that's what everybody wants to talk about. But just on the point about Sanchez, you hear things in football. Is there a possibility that Alexis Sanchez won't start next season at Manchester United?
Listen, I think it's up for grabs who's in charge of Manchester United next season. Mourinho signing a new contract, the likelihood is that he stays. The way things that are shaping, there is a possibility that the way in which the owners value Mourinho changes a little bit. I'm not advancing a headline or a story, but if you take Kenny's point about Alexis's very low return and how disenchanted he looks about what's being asked of him, well, Kenny was pointing out that, and it was a brilliantly argued piece, that in positional football, there won't be this indiscipline of Alexis trampling on Pogba's development, Pogba's influence in a particular game, and Alexis will be given a role. Fine, okay, it's a good shout. Alexis is a player who invents, who's a player who's still, one of the few modern world leaders who's a pure street footballer. He's not being asked to do that. So I think Mourinho is complicit in what Kenny's criticising. Now, if you ask Alexis to play either, it doesn't have to be a false nine phrase, but as the striker who's allowed freedom, liberty to go across the line, to drop back, but as the main striker, he's very effective. If you ask him to play off a principal striker, and there's a partnership, he's very effective. If you're asking him to play wide left, because Lukaku is your set striker, he will remain unhappy. He will remain delivering less. He likes to be not team leader, but frontline leader. He likes to take responsibility. And within certain guidelines, he likes to have not chaotic, but anarchic freedom. And that's why he's dangerous. That's why defences find him hard to patrol, hard to keep up with. And right now, he isn't simply being shackled. He's being asked to do something that is not his speciality, and it's not the reason they went and got him. So a rejig is needed before we talk about him leaving. And I think the core of Kenny's point was not only good, but really well argued.
It seems to me like the player you're describing could play in a two with either Lukaku or Marcus Rashford, but probably is going to struggle to play in a three with both of them.
Well, look, the first thing that you used that very kind phrase, you hear things. One thing I know for a fact is that Mourinho's in charge next season. He wants to use Rashford and Martial, if he's there, centrally. He understands, before we even look at Alexis, and I think my argument is that we're looking at a cue here, Ger. Rashford is homebred. Rashford is one of those players who can become, who's good enough, but who also identifies wholly with the area, with the team, with he chose in the face of big competition. I know this from interviewing him, to go to United, to stay at United. He wants to be there. He's emblematic if there's a rebuilding going on. Mourinho knows that Rashford's proper position is central. Maybe not number 9, but probably in that position you just described. If Mourinho is in charge, whoever's in charge, building that team such that if Lukaku is the 9, the guy who most regularly plays beside him or off him or behind him, whatever you want to call it, is Rashford. And I think that's right. Rashford, I was with Jamie Scowcroft, Ipswich Crystal Palace Leicester striker, watching the game on Tuesday night. And he said, look, the modern idea is that youngsters like Rashford have to play on the wing to earn their spurs, to be able to come inside where they belong. I think that's fair. And there's a log jam at the moment. And I don't think Alexis is right now number 1 in Mourinho's mind to be playing in that role that you delineated. So the problem may well continue. There is a difficulty. I don't think that United exactly pinched Alexis because they could, because it damaged City. But whether they pinched him knowing exactly how to get the best out of him, I'd have my doubts.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't look like it. Somebody who is still getting the best out of all of his glittering array of talents is Leo Messi. And last night is just another phenomenal appearance at this stage of his career, to still be as explosive, as clever, as constructive and as brilliant is unparalleled, really, in football history.
You know already from all our years of friendship, Ger, that I don't want to hide my romanticism about football. And it still thrills me to be present. It still thrills me to have the right to write about him on nights like that. I had the very good fortune, having named him man of the match, that late, about 1:45 in the morning, I got the nod that I could interview him post-match. And to him, it's still a matter of fact what he does. But I reflect on Neymar having done him because of Neymar's naivety, stupidity, greed in when he left and how he left. He definitely galvanised Messi. Because when you expressed your astonishment that he's still doing it, that he still has the explosiveness, the creativeness, the hunger, that desire. Let's use all the adjectives that everybody's used before. And Iniesta last night said it's really hard to add anything. Even Iniesta, even after last night, fellow pros that play with him all the time get stumped, although I only saw on social media the BT reactions. Lineker, Gerrard, Ferdinand, three pretty high achievers, hard-bitten ex-pros, behaving like evangelical kids, moved, excited, thrilled, honoured to be in the same stadium. All I'll say is that when you're at that level, it's not coasting, Ger, but elite pros, even how disciplined they are, how hungry they are, always need something to prick them, to make them reach deeper, to be more determined, to place other things just slightly to the left and to the right than the goal of being the best, winning the trophies. And Messi's in a groove this season whereby he'd never scored against Buffon, he did. He'd never scored against Chelsea, he did. He's run La Liga ragged. Right now he's making a team where Barca's 11 probably aren't quite as illustrious as the City 11, the way that City are playing. They're not winning as many hearts, Barcelona, but they're far more competitive, more robust, and they're building a platform. Instead of people worrying about Messi dependency, Valverde has built this such that there's a platform for Messi to take over whenever he chooses to. And I spoke to Valverde about, that's 100 goals in the Champions League, and Conte sat there, Ger, speaking like you. Conte came off, you probably saw it, sort of arms around each other and chatting to each other, Messi and Conte at the end. And Conte at halftime had gone after Suarez in the tunnel, furious and digging at him. So don't believe for a second that Conte is now not as competitive as he once was. Ferocious man, yet a little hug and special words for Messi at the end. And in the press conference, asked why, he said, well, look, it's really important to tell a player like that he's a super top player. He said, I love the opportunity you have to tell him. You have to say it. So he has this galvanizing, evangelical impact on anybody who can see, anybody who's not bitter and twisted. And honestly, it feels like Barcelona remain slight outsiders for this title. But if Messi keeps playing like this, then maybe, against the odds, they're contenders to win another treble. In the final of the Cup, leading the league, I think they'll win that. I still think dark horses for the Champions League, but playing absolutely astonishingly. And I take joy from watching it, and may he continue until he's 40.
Graham, do you think it's humanly possible to stop a Lionel Messi side when he's fully fit and on this sort of form?
There were, the way to start that answer is that I remember when Chelsea knocked Barcelona out in 2012, Robbie Di Matteo made the plan. And recently I spoke to him and I said, when Frank Lampard robbed Messi on a night listen, let's go back to Stamford Bridge 2012, when Messi played that night in a losing team, at least as well as he did last night, maybe better. But around him, none of his teammates could score, and they hit the bar, and Ashley Cole cleared off the line, blah, blah, blah. And Di Matteo's plan was to turn a strength into a weakness, and Lampard was told to target Messi when he dropped deep, to press, to do what Messi did to Cesc Fabregas last night. And they did. They robbed him in possession, and immediately the transition of the ball to Ramirez and the centre to Drogba, 1-0, blah, 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 2-2 at the next leg. Chelsea go through, Barca go out, Chelsea win the tournament. So I think the answer is yes. I think it's just rare. And Di Matteo said, I watched 8 different opponents with 8 different game plans, each trying to stop Messi. And you know what? I said, well, all of them failed. He said, all of them failed. So you need a following wind. You need a little bit of luck. You need to have the right game plan. Your players need to be on brilliant form. You need to be the one that makes a difference in front of goal, not Barcelona. And therefore, maybe that typically of me, and it's a long-winded way of saying yes. But the stats tell you that when he's playing anything like that, 98% of the time, however his teammates are playing, yeah, Barca are unstoppable, yeah.
Graham, great stuff this morning. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again real soon. It's Graham giving us some thoughts on another virtuoso performance from Leo Messi.